Welcome to the index card game, part 2. If you've not already made your cards, please stop the video now and proceed to the next step. If you have created your cards, then you're ready for the next step and learning how to use them. You'll need a few things for this. First, you will need your thesis statement. Next, you will need your printed cards, and they need to be separated. You might also want a pencil in hand. Not a pen, a pencil. Finally, after you have played this game on your own, you will need a partner who is willing to play around with your cards as well. If you're saying to yourself that you can't meet up with anyone from class, you're in luck. You don't have to. I've had students who are non-traditional students, meaning they're coming back to school after an extended break, who have had their children, teenagers of course, play the game with them to great effect. Other students who are newlywed ask their spouse to play the game. Still others find another student with whom they can meet in order to make this go smoothly to gain insights on their writing. Others still live at home and ask their parents to do the game with them. No matter who you choose, you are all set. Just don't give your cards to your toddler. They're more likely to eat them than they are to play this game. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do a screen share for this game. This is what we're going to be covering. We're going to look at how many stacks you're going to need. We're going to do an author check. We're going to do a quote, paraphrase, summary check, a distribution check, learn how to arrange the data, look at mystery cards and no fit cards. So let's do a new share. And right here, we're going to get started. So I have my entire stack, and I have my thesis statement over here, just off camera. And we're going to line these cards up for each subtopic. You'll notice, yes, these are the template. They're not actually filled in, but we're going to pretend. So I'm going to read these cards off, and I'm going to decide where they fit with my thesis. And how might they fit together? So now that I've done that, your first pile is, of course, your first subtopic. Your second pile is your second subtopic. And the third pile is the third subtopic. Each card that you put in your pile should line up perfectly with your topic and your subtopic associated with that pile. After you've done that, you need to check your piles for the following items. First, the overuse of one author in one subtopic. I'm going to count up these cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 cards. Okay, not bad. Well, what happens if 5 of those 6 cards all came from the same author? Overusing one source or one author for a subtopic could imply a form of bias on your part. This could lead your reader to be less inclined to believe the data you're presenting. For that reason, you want to make sure that you have a fairly even distribution between your sources. You don't want one source to take over the whole thing and upstage even you. The author of this upcoming paper, you're supposed to be the star, not this one source. If you really like the data, see if you can find another source that has the same data. This will show that you really studied this topic out and know what you're talking about. Next, you're going to check the Q to P to S ratio. For that, you'll need to look in that bottom corner. You're specifically looking at the Q, the P, and the S. Did you have mostly P's and S's, or did you overuse the Q? If you have too many quotes, you want to look at all of the quotes for that stack and decide which quote is an absolute must. Which one you need, and then which ones should you turn into a paraphrase or a summary. You can note the ones that you want to change by using a pencil, because what if you change your mind? And you can mark it with the P or the S, paraphrase or summary, to remind yourself to make that change when you actually type up your paper. The next thing you're going to look for is your distribution. Do you have too many or too few cards in one stack? Well, I already counted this stack. This had 6 cards, 2 cards, 4 cards, but I decided one of them is kind of doesn't fit, so I'm going to put it over here. It's going to be my mystery pile. I don't think I have even distribution. I have 6 cards here, 2 cards here, and 3 cards here. Well, I don't expect you to have a perfect balance with all even numbers. This is a little too extensive. You know, you don't need each card or each stack the exact same, but if you have 6 or 7 cards in your first stack and 1 or 2 in your last 2 points or worse, a whole stack with no cards at all, and I have seen that happen, this is a greatly disproportionate paper, and your reader will be able to tell that. And the point is that you might want to refocus. You can either rewrite your thesis statement to rearrange the data. You could narrow your topic. Maybe this with the most cards you knew you could have had more on, so maybe you break this into smaller, more narrowed areas, and this becomes your main point. However you decide to do it, just make sure you're not missing anything. You can also research a little bit deeper if you like how your thesis sounds and you know you need more for these two. At least you know which areas you need your research for. And so that's a possibility as well. The next thing that you can do is move these into the order that you want for each subtopic. So you have your paper, you've done a little bit more now, maybe we've got a little bit better distribution. So we've got 4, 4, and 3. That's pretty even. So I can take, and I'm going to look at just my first subtopic. I'm going to decide what order this information should go in for this particular stack. And so you can arrange these and you can play these around to fit your thesis and to fit your paper and what you envision for your paper. You want to do each stack individually. And if you like the order, you can number the back the way that you want. Pro tip: use a pencil, just in case you change your mind after your partner has a turn at these cards. Next, I talked about mystery cards and the no place cards. Every so often, you might have a mystery card. This card is one that you're set on using somewhere in your paper, but it doesn't really fit your thesis. In this case, you might want to see if it would work for your introduction on the topic. If not, you either need to discard the piece for this paper or rework your thesis statement so that it does fit. And then the final stack, cards that don't fit the topic at all. Sometimes you will end up with a piece of information that is so far off the mark that you wonder how it got into your stack at all. And these are the cards that go into your for later pile, if you know that you have another paper to write on the same topic. After all, there's no sense in having to find that piece of information again later if you already have it in hand. Remember, work smarter, not harder. Now that you've done this game on your own and checked where you think your information is going to line up, You're going to shuffle your cards around. Mix them all up. And then you're going to take your cards and your thesis statement, and you're going to hand them off to your partner. You want to direct them to stack your cards according to your thesis statement, and have them put each stack in the order they think the information belongs for the thesis that you have given them. Did they come up with the same stack? Did they come up with the same order? If they did not come up with the same stacks or order, ask them why they put the pieces where they did. Do they feel that the thesis needed cleaned up given the data you plan on using? Having an outside perspective on these things will help you to gain new insights on your thesis, as well as on the paper that you're getting ready to write. Go ahead and pause the video now so that you can play the game. After playing the game, you need to ask yourself the following questions. How solid is my thesis? Do I have enough information to support each subtopic in an unbiased way? If you found that your thesis was not strong enough, you might need to rewrite it. If you found that you didn't have enough information from one or more stacks, you might need to dig a little bit deeper with your research. If you found that your research came from mostly one source, you definitely need to dig a little bit deeper to find some variety for your sources. If you're having trouble finding information, remember that you can reach out to a librarian for assistance. They know how to use the search engines and are more than happy to share such information with students. For constructing your paper using the new tool, check out the segment on writing cohesive paragraphs and follow the steps. The steps for your data will, of course, come from your index cards. And there you have it, the extremely useful information that is the index card game on multiple levels. I hope you found this information useful, and if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please make sure you reach out to your professor using that email icon in the Learning Management System. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll catch you on the flip side.